Hey everyone, Ridden here, and thank you for coming. And today we're going to be taking a deeper look at episode 8 of season 1 of Marvel Studios' WandaVision. Welcome back everyone, and thank you for coming. And the time has finally come for us to discuss the penultimate episode of WandaVision season 1. So let's get to it.
Previously on WandaVision.
Returning to the world of Westview, we begin this episode with a flashback to Salem in the year 1693, as we see Agnes on trial by her coven for forsaking their rules and practicing magic above her age and station. This was an interesting twist, as in the comics, Agatha survived the Salem witch trials to only later be burned at the stake by her grandchildren, the Salem Seven, who were the children of her son Nicholas Scratch. Scratch, a powerful wizard, along with other magic users, lived in fear of similar persecution, staying in the hidden town of New Salem, Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains, with the strongest of the town's inhabitants being Agatha. When Agatha decides to leave to be the nanny of Franklin Richards, the powerful son of the Fantastic Four's Sue and Reed Richards, Nicholas turned the community of New Salem against his mother, eventually leading to the Salem Seven catching her and burning her at the stake. So seeing Agatha here overpowering her coven magically, who is trying to burn her at the stake and sucking them all dry, was a bit of an ode to that in my opinion. We also now know the origin of her brooch, as we see her remove it from Mother afterwards. In a continuation of last week, we return to Agatha's basement as she explains to Wanda how, once she sensed the magical aura of Westview, she had to come and see what was going on, confirming another fan theory that Agatha did in fact arrive in Westview after it was set up, as can be seen here at the beginning of Agatha all along. She wants to know how Wanda is doing such complex magic, almost without effort, when it's taken her years to master her own craft. Agatha also confirms for us that fake Pietro as she calls him, is in fact not her creation, and that she only got close to him to use him as her eyes and ears, and that she doesn't know how Wanda created him, as necromancy would be impossible on her dead brother, who is an entire continent away. As we go back through reruns of Wanda's real life, coerced by Agatha with the screams of Billy and Tommy, more fan theories are crushed, as we see Wanda's parents, and they are in fact not the people from the commercials we've been seeing. Her dad is in fact a salesman of some sort, and we see where Wanda developed her love of the classic sitcoms, as we see DVDs or cassettes of all of the shows our episodes have been derived from. This was cool, as we get direct shots from the Dick Van Dyke Show that correlate directly with scenes we saw earlier in the season, such as the beginning of episode 2. I can't say that I was ever expecting to see what came next though actually played out for us in live action, as we see the bomb that kills her parents, followed up by her and Pietro trapped under the bed watching the Stark missile beep non-stop. Now, while the whole point of this is for Agatha to figure out where Wanda got the big guns, it's also interesting to see the entire process become somewhat therapeutic, as Wanda is having to revisit all of her deep-seated trauma. We then see Wanda's first interaction with the Mind Stone, and from our perspective, the stone calls out to her before exploding in her face, in contrast to what the scientists see, because they only really see her falling. It looks like there's someone floating towards her in this moment as well. Could this maybe be the essence of the stone itself? To me, this actually looks like the outline of classic Scarlet Witch. So is it possible that this is Wanda's future self being realized to her by her powers and the Mind Stone? Agnes further explains that what we're seeing is Wanda's innate powers or magic being amplified by her getting up close and personal with an Infinity Stone. The scene that follows with Wanda and Vision back at the Avengers base in the wake of Age of Ultron was also interesting, getting to see how Wanda and Vision began to build something of a relationship. It makes sense, as Vision himself is created from the Mind Stone and would be able to understand Wanda on a deeper level than most. Now, taking a look at the relevance of these scenes, as in the bomb sequence, as Agatha asked Wanda if she used a probability hex or something, this could be the very first instance of Wanda using her powers or magic, if she is in fact later to be told us to have been born with these abilities. Also, in her interaction with the Mind Stone, I do believe it will eventually be of importance who Wanda may have seen in the stone's aura before it exploded and imbued her and amplified her gifts. And in the moment Wanda and Vision share while watching Malcolm in the Middle, I believe this to be a pivotal moment in Vision's development and his humanity overall, that we later see further explored in the early scenes of Infinity War. We're then taken into the Sword headquarters as we see Wanda arrive there looking for Vision. As when she came back, he was gone. Hayward allows her to come back to his office as we see Hayward and Wanda meet prior to the anomaly, as he shows her that they begin to dismantle Vision. He even makes the odd comment that not everybody has the power like her to bring their loved one back. And contrary to what Hayward told the team in a debriefing a few episodes back, Wanda leaves after realizing that Vision is really gone and that she can't feel him. As we see Wanda leaving, she looks over at a piece of paper on her seat before pulling out of the parking lot of her scarlet car and heading off to New Jersey. As she drives through the town of Westview, we see familiar faces from the town we've come to know, including our mailman, who it happens to be, he's a pizza delivery guy. In the best reveal yet of the season, we see Wanda arrive to what we've come to know as her and Vision's home, which hasn't been built yet. She unravels a property deed that has a heart in the center that says to grow old in V, with the owners of the home being her and Vision. A really cool Easter egg here is that the property deed was signed off on by Kate Weddle, who happens to be the actual art director for the show. And then we finally see the birth of Westview, as Wanda collapses in grief in the middle of the beginnings of her and Vision's home, unleashing her magic as Westview takes shape around her, and we see Vision born of chaos magic and Mind Stone essence from within her. This scene was incredibly powerful to me, probably the most emotional we've seen thus far in the series. For weeks, everyone has been wondering if we were seeing Vision's dead body simply reanimated by Wanda, and now we have our answer. It was also really cool to actually see the set of the show and audience risers, as Agnes, having gotten what she wanted, gives a sitting round of applause. And closing out the show, we see Billy and Tommy return, held by their necks in the middle of the street by Agnes, now in her full regalia, you know, because she's Agatha, having figured out that Wanda is using chaos magic, deeming her the mythical Scarlet Witch. I love the way the MCU has chosen to differentiate between the different people's magic and where it comes from, as Wanda's magic is red, coming from chaos energy, and Agatha's is purple. And as we learned in Doctor Strange when he faced Dormammu, that magic comes from the dark dimension. And if we think back to when Billy's power manifested, it was blue, and that's also the color of the magic Agatha's coven was using on her at the beginning of the episode. Now, orange could possibly be more for typical magic, as we see Strange, Wong, and the other wizards use it. The way Agatha talks about it here, it leads me to believe that in the world of the MCU, that the Scarlet Witch could maybe be a long rumored mystical being, possibly a Nexus being, which in the comics we know Wanda to be, and that her existence is a danger to everything and everyone, as Agnes tells Wanda she knows what she is, that she's supposed to be a myth, a being of spontaneous creation. So within the MCU, we obviously will have some pre-existing lore in the magic community that supports this. In the lore of the comics, chaos magic is magic so powerful that it was thought to be non-existent, even by the Sorcerer Supreme himself. Way back when, we're told an elder god by the name Chthon used chaos magic to rule the earth as the god of chaos, until he was imprisoned and sealed in Mount Wundagore, which would eventually be the birthplace of Wanda. And as a child, she was touched by the hand of his magic, leaving her with a fraction of his power and giving her the ability to control chaos energy and alter reality itself beyond recognition. Funny enough, in the comics, it is in fact Agatha Harkness that mentors and teaches Wanda to harness the chaos magic. The MCU is really weaving an interesting net here, as the book we saw in episode 7 has been widely speculated to be the Darkhold, which houses several dark spells that can alter the very fabric of reality. And if it is in fact the Darkhold, it would bring us full circle, as guess who the creator and the author of the Darkhold just happens to be? You guessed it, Chthon. And as there was a missing book in the Ancient Ones collection in Doctor Strange, we can possibly speculate that's where it was before Agatha got it. Marvel must have heard all the hate the Please Stand By sign was getting, because this week we didn't get one. But we did get another post-credit scene, and it looks like we got Spectral Vision, the completely white version of Vision we see here, first debuted in the Avengers West Coast issue number 45 back in 1989 during the Burn Vision Quest arc, during which Dr. Hank Pym, who we already have in the MCU played by Michael Douglas, rebuilds Vision, but with an appearance devoid of color, a visual cue of him now lacking his human side, leaving him a now colorless, emotionless being. Hayward says they took Vision apart and put him back together 3 million times, and all it took was just a little bit of power from the source. And we then see the drone still throbbing with Wanda's energy from when she confronted Sword on the outside of the Hex. So what does this mean for our favorite synthezoid? When we next see him, or when Wanda does, will he not know her? Can you imagine what that's going to do to Wanda if Vision comes back in the flesh? Well, in the vibranium, and has no emotion, let alone no recollection towards her or of her. We could be seeing the makings of what could finally push Wanda over the edge. In the comics, Vision does eventually begin to gradually regain his emotions, and even gets a new body to once again resemble his original one. But by that time, Vision and Wanda had broken up, and the twins had been sucked back into Mephisto. As it is eventually revealed, they were fragments of Mephisto's soul. And no, I don't think that this is the edge. For the second week in a row, Marvel has continued to press the story of WandaVision forward. I love this week's episode as it played heavily to the humanity of Wanda's character, showing us everything she has had to go through and the compounding losses she has had to endure over and over again. We didn't get a lot of action this week, but we did get a ton of answers to questions we've all been asking and theories we've all been posing. Take for instance Agatha. Insofar as we know, it doesn't seem to be that she's working for any higher power such as Nightmare or Mephisto, just herself and her endless pursuit of power. Although there have been several hints to the existence and involvement of both. The people we've seen week in and week out in the commercials are in fact not Wanda's parents, and it isn't Vision's body lumbering around Westview, but something created completely of Wanda's will. Pietro, it turns out, isn't a creation of Agatha's. So what is he then? She calls him fake Pietro, but what does that mean he came from? And the kids are in fact still alive. So what's the big hype Agatha is raising about chaos magic? And what's the hype about Scarlet Witch? For me, the most important thing I believe we got this week was the possibility that maybe Wanda was born with her magical abilities or powers, thereby making her a mutant. What could this mean going forward? I, for one, am incredibly excited for the finale of next week, and while I know others may not feel the same way, this to me could possibly be one of the best episodes of WandaVision thus far. We can't expect non-stop action every week, and finally getting some real backstory on screen for Wanda, I think really served to give the audience some grounding in the reasoning for some of the things she's done and could still possibly do. As always, I will be continuing to cover the show here weekly on my channel, and if you feel so inclined, I would love to have you back here next week to continue to cover it with us. Again, guys, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell for notifications if you've enjoyed our content here tonight. Jump down in the comments and let me know your thoughts, and while you're at it, be sure to check out some of the other content here on the channel. All of the necessary links are listed here below for you to keep up with the coming content and shareables. Please be sure to follow me on all social media platforms. Or just the one you use most frequently. We are slowly but surely building a community here, and I would personally love for you to be a part of that. And last but not least, we have a merch store. So whether you see something you like or just simply want to support the channel, head on over to our shop and grab something. Or grab everything. But again, thank you so much, guys and gals, for visiting here with us today. I really appreciate each and every viewing minute of your time you've given us. There's loads of content we'll be sending your way, so I'll be seeing you. But for now, be blessed. And it was written.
Across the nighttime, the city sleeps inside.